Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España va a celebrar sesión pública solemne para recibir como académico correspondiente extranjero de esta corporación al ilustrísimo señor doctor Don Ramesh C. Gupta. The Royal Academy of Veterinary Science of Spain is going to hold a solemn public session to receive as foreign correspondent academician from this corporation the ilustrísimo señor doctor Don Ramesh C. Gupta. El señor secretario general dará lectura del decreto 2/2019.
Decreto 2 de 2019 de la Real Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España, por el que se nombra académico correspondiente extranjero electo de esta corporación al ilustrísimo señor doctor Don Ramesh C. Gupta. La Junta Plenaria de la Real Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España, y a propuesta de la Junta de Gobierno, ha tenido a bien proclamar, en virtud de sus méritos, académico correspondiente extranjero electo de esta Real Academia al ilustrísimo señor doctor Don Ramesh C. Gupta. Para tomar posesión, el electo deberá dar lectura de su discurso de ingreso preceptivo, tras lo cual tomará posesión de su medalla y se integrará a título de correspondiente, dado en Madrid a 30 de septiembre de 2019. El secretario general Salvio Jiménez Pérez, el presidente Arturo Ramón Anadón Navarro.
Bueno, pues a continuación voy a hacer la presentación del profesor Ramesh C. Gupta. Excelentísimas señoras académicas y excelentísimos señores académicos de la Real Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España, señoras y señores. La Real Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España recibe hoy al profesor Ramesh C. Gupta como nuevo académico correspondiente extranjero, y su Junta de Gobierno y los académicos de esta corporación me han otorgado el honor y la confianza de presentar al recipiendario, por lo que les agradezco su confianza. La presentación del doctor Gupta como nuevo académico correspondiente extranjero, refiriendo su trayectoria científica y profesional, constituye una tarea de profunda satisfacción para mí. En primer lugar, me referiré a su historial académico. El doctor Ramesh C. Gupta realizó sus estudios en GP Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, College of Veterinary Medicine, Pantnagar, Nainital, India, que concluyeron con un doctorado en Medicina Veterinaria en el año 1971 y un máster en Ciencias Veterinarias en el año 1973. Con posterioridad, en 1977 obtuvo en la prestigiosa Punjab Agricultural University, College of Veterinary Sciences, en Ludhiana, India, un PhD en farmacología con especialización en toxicología. A continuación, el doctor Gupta se desplazó a los Estados Unidos para realizar su formación postdoctoral en la Michigan State University entre el año 1981 y 1973 como NIH Postdoctoral Research Associate con el tema de estudio toxicidad prenatal y postnatal del insecticida organofosforado metilparatión, y en la Vanderbilt University School of Medicine, Nashville, Tennessee, desde 1983 a 1987, como Postdoctoral Research Associate con el tema de investigación toxicología bioquímica de los insecticidas organofosforados y agentes nerviosos, gracias a unas fellowship de la NASA y el Departamento de Defensa de los Estados Unidos de América. Finalmente, en 1987, se incorporó como profesor asistente y profesor asociado a la Murray State University, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, USA, donde ha desplegado durante más de 40 años una extensa labor investigadora dirigida principalmente a estudios cerebrales experimentales en relación con plaguicidas y enfermedades neurodegenerativas, y ha estado muy involucrado en la investigación con nutracéuticos durante los últimos 20 años. El profesor Gupta es en la actualidad catedrático y director del Departamento de Toxicología de la Murray State University. Por otra parte, el nuevo académico ha sido galardonado con abundantes premios, honores y distinciones concedidas por una variedad de instituciones, entre los que destacamos el de Fellow of the American College of Nutrition, Fellow of the American College of Toxicology, Diplomado del American Board of Toxicology, Fellow of the Academy of Toxicological Sciences, member of an AHL Toxicology Working Group, Conciliar of Comparative Veterinary Specialty Section, the SOT, a member of the Executive Committee of MSU Breathing Veterinary Center, Distinguished Researcher Award of the Year 2006 de la Murray State University, President of the American Academy of Veterinary Comparative Toxicology, Vice President of the AEVCT, Recorder in the American Men and Women of Science, Secretary Treasurers of the AEVC, member of the NIOS CDC Study Section, Who is Who in Science and Engineering, recorded in Who and Who of International Intellectual, German Academic Exchange Service Fellowship, Senior Fellowship of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research in Pharmacology, Junior Fellowship of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research in Pharmacology, and Merit Scholastic Achievement. Por otro lado, el nuevo académico ha sido galardonado con premios y distinciones. Ha recibido 2 premios de la Murray State University, recibió el premio de la Murray State University Distinguished Researcher Award en 2006 y el de Outstanding Research Award en 2014. Actualmente es miembro activo de más de una docena de sociedades académicas, incluyendo la American College of Nutrition, American Veterinary Medical Association, American Society for Toxicology and Experimental Therapeutics, Society of Toxicology, Eurotox, International Society for the Study of Xenobiotics, and American College of Toxicology. El Dr. Gupta ha actuado como organizador, moderador o ponente de varios centenares de congresos nacionales e internacionales, reuniones científicas y mesas redondas, e invitado a un total de 51 ponencias en países como Reino Unido, Francia, Australia, Italia, Japón, Alemania, Suiza, España, República Checa, Suecia, Finlandia, Corea del Sur, China y Estados Unidos, y presidido 12 sesiones científicas en congresos internacionales. En España ha tenido el honor de haber sido invitado a participar en el 12º International Congress of Toxicology en Barcelona, en el que presidió la sesión de Toxication and Susceptibility of Organophosphates, en presentar la ponencia titulada In Vivo Biomarker of Neurotoxicity Induced by Organophosphates and Carbamates. En Barcelona tuvo también el honor de participar en el año pasado en el 34 World Veterinary Association Congress como conferenciante del simposium Nutracéuticos en osteoartritis canina y nutracéuticos en osteoartritis equina. El Dr. Gupta ha formado parte de paneles científicos del NIH, CDC y de la National Academy of Sciences y tiene 430 publicaciones en su haber, 99 capítulos de libro, 115 trabajos de investigación originales, 3 editoriales, 166 abstracts y 34 case reports, y ha editado 13 libros, de los cuales 8 es editor principal. Toxicología de compuestos organofosforados y carbamatos, toxicología veterinaria, principios básicos y clínicos, manual de toxicología de agentes químicos de guerra. Este libro está en la página web del Pentágono, Estados Unidos. Plaguicidas, anticolinesterasa, metabolismo, neurotoxicidad, epidemiología, toxicología de la reproducción y del desarrollo, biomarcadores en toxicología, nutracéuticos, eficacia, seguridad y toxicidad, y el último, nutracéuticos en medicina veterinaria. Varios de ellos ya se encuentran en segunda y tercera edición. Del total de las publicaciones, la mayoría de ellas las tienen revistas indexadas en los Journal Citation Reports, figurando como autor líder en más de la mitad de ellas, incluyendo artículos en Toxicology and Applied Pharmacology, Toxicology Mechanism Methods, Neurotoxicology, Journal of Veterinary Pharmacology and Therapeutics, Drugs Development and Research, Toxicological Sciences, Toxicology, Brain Research, Archive of Toxicology, Journal of Neurochemistry, Human and Experimental Toxicology, and Frontiers in Veterinary Science, entre otras, y las más importantes publicaciones se centran en los plaguicidas y relación con las enfermedades neurodegenerativas y la investigación con nutracéuticos. Entre los logros de su investigación podemos destacar la evidencia de nuevas acciones farmacológicas y efectos de la memantina, un derivado de amantadina y un antagonista del receptor N-metil D-aspartato, que se ha demostrado que es el antídoto más eficaz frente a la toxicidad de los insecticidas, carbonatos y organofosforados y agentes nerviosos organofosforados que inhiben la acetilcolinesterasa. Su grupo demostró por primera vez que el tratamiento combinado con memantina e inhibidores de la acetilcolinesterasa de segunda generación proporcionaban los efectos óptimos en el tratamiento de casos de moderados avanzados de la enfermedad de Alzheimer. Descubrió los efectos antiartríticos de UC2, Crominex y otros nutracéuticos en perros y caballos artríticos. Evidenció el papel de los metabolitos fosfatos de alta energía en la patogénesis de la lesión oxidativa inducida por la toxicidad de los inhibidores de la acetilcolinesterasa y el ácido cáinico, agonista del receptor glutamato. Descubrió el papel del ácido nítrico en la detección de los fosfatos de alta energía en el cerebro inducidos por los inhibidores de acetilcolinesterasa y ácido cáinico, y evidenció el papel neuroprotector de los agentes atrapadores de spin y un alfa-tocoferol antioxidante en la restauración del estado de la energía neuronal que de otro modo depleccionaría los inhibidores de la acetilcolinesterasa o el ácido cáinico. Investigó sobre los biomarcadores del cerebro, colinérgicos y no colinérgicos, de la exposición y los efectos de los compuestos carbonatos y organofosforados. Investigó los mecanismos involucrados en el desarrollo de toxicidad y tolerancia en el cerebro y en la unión neuromuscular de la exposición repetida a compuestos organofosforados. Investigó los mecanismos moleculares involucrados en los experimentos de ingravidez con destino a la Tierra, un problema común en los astronautas, y por último, desarrolló un procedimiento quirúrgico que permite la recolección separada de orina y heces en aves para facilitar la farmacocinética, toxicocinética de compuestos hipóxicos. El Dr. Gupta es guest editor de la revista Toxicology and Pharmacology y es miembro del Editorial Board Advanced in Pharmacology and Toxicology, Teratology Studies, a Scientific World Journal, Journal of Environmental Science and Health, Open Journal of Veterinary Medicine, Global Security Journal e International Journal of Advanced Veterinary Medicine. En resumen, me siento muy honrado de hacer su presentación en la que he pretendido, señores y señores académicos, hacer patente las consideraciones sobre la personalidad y trayectoria del recipiendario. Y en nombre de la Real Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España le deseo sea bienvenido y decirle igualmente que esta Real Academia se congratula afectuosamente de tenerle como académico correspondiente extranjero. A mi juicio constituye un acierto su elección, puesto que la actividad científica que usted desarrolla puede contribuir al enriquecimiento científico de la institución a través de la sección segunda, Medicina y Sanidad Animal. I hope that this intervention will not be the last one in which you are taking part. He dicho. A continuación, Ramesh Gupta, you have the floor to deliver your speech, which is entitled Nutraceuticals in Veterinary Medicine, with a special emphasis on osteoarthritis. You can spend 35-40 minutes.
Yes,
Okay?
yes. Hola, ¿cómo están? Yo, Ramesh Chandra Gupta, doctor en Ciencias Veterinarias por la Universidad G.V. Pant University of Agriculture and Technology.
No.
No.
Later on.
Okay.
Now you should start with your speech.
Speech. According to American Veterinary Medical Association in America, North America, nutraceuticals are defined. Can all of you hear me? Okay. Now, how do I change these slides? This one? Thanks. And pointer is wonderful. Thank you. Nutraceuticals are defined in a regulatory terms, but the meaning is they are used for improvement of health and prevention and treatment of diseases. They are all natural. So before I go to the lecture, let me give you some facts about nutraceuticals. These nutraceuticals all are natural from biosource. Nutraceuticals have been used for thousands of years. According to Hippocrates, father of medicine, they have been used for thousands of years and they will be used for thousands of years. Currently, nutraceuticals industry is worth more than 250 billion US dollars. About 80% of the people living outside the US and Europe, they consume nutraceuticals, one or more. Approximately 150 million Americans out of 320 million, they consume at least one nutraceutical. I personally consume 3 or 4 nutraceuticals in the morning, one I take lunchtime, and 3 or 4 nutraceutical in the evening. I turned 70-year-old and life is still going on. They are cost effective compared to pharmacotherapeutics or therapeutical drugs. Nutraceuticals are inexpensive. They are safe. The fear factor that you take pharmaceutical drugs, there is a liver disease, kidney disease, so hepatic failure, renal failure, other side effects, they are a lot less with nutraceuticals. They are not as potent as pharmaceutical drugs, but they are safe. But they are not recognized as in America, according to FDA, Food and Drug Administration, that they do not have the GRAS status unless you qualify, apply, provide all evidence, they are not considered GRAS. So 50% of the FDA approved drugs, they are from plant or other biological sources. They can be microbiological or they can be plant or other bio sources. You can see the long list of nutraceuticals. Sometimes they are used singly or they are used in combination. Because if you take a single, it may not be as potent as pharmaceutical drug. So sometimes they are used in combination. But they are not all safe. Some are having toxic effects. This is the ginkgo biloba tree somewhere in Belgium. And last year, an Italian professor, Orazio Nicolati, edited a book, Computational Toxicology. We added a chapter in this and we described toxicity of certain nutraceuticals. What they are used for? Nutraceuticals are used in many diseases. Osteoarthritis is on top. Humans, dogs, horses, they develop more osteoarthritis than any other species. Obesity, metabolic diseases, then systematic diseases, GI, hepatic, renal, cardiovascular, respiratory dysfunctions. Chronic cognitive decline in dogs and horses is very common. Nutraceuticals are used for that. They are used in depression, anxiety, used in allergies, atopic dermatitis. But most of these nutraceuticals, they work as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, immunomodulatory, and cytoprotective effects. In osteoarthritis, they offer chondroprotective effects. You can see there are many nutraceuticals, they are used for joint health. As we get aged, the diseases that develop like osteoarthritis. So there are many nutraceuticals they use singly or in combination for the prevention and treatment of osteoarthritis. So what is osteoarthritis? There is a long definition. Osteoarthritis is a chronic inflammatory disease in which there is a damage to cartilage. But osteoarthritis is not a disease of only cartilage, entire joint is involved. So is osteoarthritis a single disease or combination of diseases? we are still debating and we do not have answer. It's a disease in which not only affects the cartilage but entire joint, muscles, cartilage, tendons, ligaments, but cartilage has no blood supply or nerve supply. So where the nutrition come from? Joint fluid. As I said, osteoarthritis affects mainly humans, dogs, and horses. Osteoarthritis affects 20% of the adult and 80% of the geriatric population in the US. Approximately 70 to 80% of the arthritic patients are obese. About 60% of the humans in America classify as obese. My wife is American, so I'm careful what I'm saying. Severely affected humans and animals are unable to walk and limited in their activities. What causes osteoarthritis? Multiple causes. That is the result. Treatment is difficult. Aging, injury, excessive or lack of exercise. Suppose you have horses. They simply cannot stand. They have to exercise. So over-exercise, under-exercise, nutrition, fatty nutrition can do a lot of harm. Obesity, genetic predisposition, infection. So there are multiple causes are involved in etiology of osteoarthritis. Now this is more for like a marketing, or if you wanted to know where the dogs are. Current global population is 900 million. America has about 90 to 93 million dogs. Spain has 5.3 million dogs. Since yesterday, my wife and I, we have been watching. Dogs are everywhere. But your dogs are lean and thin. Our dogs are not lean and thin. They are pretty heavy, overweight. Because what is happening? We go to a restaurant, serving is large. We bring the doggy food home. Dogs, they consume human food. And that is the one real reason for the osteoarthritis. Russia has 16 million, Germany has 8.6 million. So Spain, since yesterday we have seen lots of dogs everywhere. But you can see large breed dogs like a German Shepherd, Huskies, Labrador, Rottweilers, they are big sized dogs. And big sized dogs, they develop osteoarthritis 45% more compared to small breed dogs. The current equine population is 60 million. 20 million horses are in North America. United States has 10 million. Spain has 600,000 horses. Mexico has 6.35. Brazil has 5.4 million horses. Horses are everywhere. What is the pathology? As I said, the pathology of osteoarthritis is very complex. What it starts with? It starts with inflammation. And the trigger factor is IL-1 beta cytokine. Oxidative stress, nitrosative stress. So all those stress, lack of exercise, inflammation, as a result, there is a damage to the cartilage, inability to walk, and the loss of cartilage structure and function. So you can see there is here's the bone, here's the cartilage. Cartilage start getting thinning, and in the advanced condition you can see the fragments or remnants of cartilage. And ultimately you can see the osteophytes. And those spurs can be really painful. So there are primary cause like a joint injury, aging. Aging we can delay, but aging we cannot postpone forever. There are secondary causes like inflammation, and ultimately there is a damage to the cartilage, bones, entire muscle is involved. If somebody is interested in further reading Osteoarthritis and Cartilage is the best journal. What are the symptoms? Pain from inflammation, decreased stability, mobility, loading, stiffness of joints, palpable effusion, bone rubbing against the bone, called crunching sound or crepitus. And that is the case in the humans, horses, and dogs. So what is needed? The biomarkers, indicators. Those indicators can be very helpful in diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment. This is the slide I borrowed from my friend Villanova, Eugenio Villanova. He's somewhere in Madrid. So I borrowed this slide. The biomarkers are, there are many properties are required. It has to be ethically acceptable, relevancy for the disease. It has to be specific, sensitivity. So there are many requirements for the biomarkers. And you can see there is a book, Biomarkers in Toxicology. There is a specific chapter on osteoarthritis biomarkers. And there are many biomarkers, at least 75 markers for inflammation, oxidative stress, nitrosative stress, radiological findings, microRNA. Last 10 years, the emphasis is on microRNA. The branch of the FDA set up in Jefferson, Arkansas, in the United States. They are having systemic or systematic biomarkers, among them microRNA. These are the 22 nucleotide non-coding RNAs. But the concentration is low, so now we are going for the linking RNA. And they all can help in diagnosis, prognosis, and therapeutic progress. As you can see, there is a specific microRNA for each organ. For human cartilage, microRNA 140 is specific. For rat cartilage, microRNA 98 is specific. But currently, National Institute of Health, lots of microRNA are under consideration, but not a one has been validated or approved. From England, there is a report that we can use the biped system, but this system has caused nothing but confusion and no conclusion. So please stay away. Biomarkers of oxidative nitrosative stress, biomarkers of inflammation and pain, biomarkers of cartilage degeneration, loss, imaging. But most of the time, veterinarians are using radiographic imaging. By the time you see changes in radiographic, it's too late for treatment. So what we are doing, we are using circulatory synovial fluid and urine biomarkers. With the microRNA, linking RNA, months and months or years in advance, you can diagnose osteoarthritis. So what should be the criteria for the diagnosis? Signs and symptoms. There is a pain, there is inflammation. Pain can be measured by observations or ground force plate. That is the gold standard. On radiographic evidence, you can see narrowing of joint space, destruction of cartilage, cartilage fragments in the joint space, and osteophyte formation. So what do we do? How do we treat? How do we approach? Simple. Alleviate symptoms. Slow the progression of osteoarthritis. Increase functionality, mobility, and thereby improve the quality of life. When people are unable to walk, ouch, there is a pain in the morning, throughout you take some NSAID, and that's where we are heading. No nutraceutical have all those qualities which are required for treatment or prevention of osteoarthritis. That is the reason for prevention and treatment of osteoarthritis, nutraceuticals are used in combination. Currently, NSAIDs are the preference. You take Aleve every 4 hours. My wife has osteoarthritis. She takes sometime Aleve, sometime Meloxicam, sometime some kind of NSAID. or you can use drugs, but they have side effects. Physiotherapy, surgery, joint replacement, acupuncture, lifestyle change, diet, exercise, and weight loss. These many NSAIDs are used. Rofecoxib is withdrawn because of the heart failure. Meloxicam is the safest but least effective. In osteoarthritis, carprofen or Ramadil, but there is a precaution, it can cause hepatic failure. So side effects are GI bleeding, cardiac failure, hepatic and renal dysfunction, reduced appetite, vomiting, inhibit bone. 100,000 hospitalizations in humans and hundreds or 1,600 deaths every year from use of NSAIDs. So pain assessment, how do we do? We can do by observations. Overall pain, pain upon limb manipulation, pain after physical exertion, whether humans, dogs, or horses, this is the criteria. And there, according to Glasgow system, you can measure the pain, but person can be biased. In case of dogs, we manipulate the limb forward, backward, and circular, and we include shoulder joint, elbow joint, and stifle or knee joint, and we score the pain. Pain upon physical exertion. You exercise the dog or horse for a few minutes, and then you measure the pain again. But person can be biased. It cannot be accurately measured 2.2 or 2.5 or 2.6. It can be 2 or 2.5 very easily. So moderately arthritic dogs, moderately arthritic horses that we have used almost for 20 years in hundreds of the dogs and hundreds of the humans. So overall pain, if it is a 4 to 6, pain upon limb manipulation 2 to 2.5, and pain after physical exertion 2 to 2.5, that's defined as moderately arthritic. But this is the most accurate. Ground force plate, or some people they say just the force plate. When the dog or horse walks on this plate, there are plates, there are sensors, and there is a computer. Computer can accurately measure the level of the pain. There are two parameters, peak vertical force, newtons per kilogram body weight, or impulse area, the pain in the entire leg, newtons second per kilogram body weight. So this is the most accurate. 2011 or 12, I was invited to give a lecture at University of Zurich, Switzerland, and a special issue was published, and this is also given in the book. Let me describe some clinical trials. We used hundreds of the dogs and horses. We used many combinations, but I can give you just summary. Glucosamine chondroitin are still most commonly used nutraceuticals for osteoarthritis. Their doses are all set, established. Both are components of the articular cartilage. Type 2 collagen is 60 to 70% of the entire cartilage. So they can replace. Pain reduction is less. All biomarkers or factors involved in osteoarthritis, their level can be suppressed. But they have to be given in combination so they can provide synergistic effect. Increase in the synthesis of hyaluronan or hyaluronic acid, which is a part of the cartilage. They stimulate the chondrocyte. As you can see, in the cartilage, the chondrocytes are only 3%. 97% is extracellular matrix. Chondrocytes, within chondrocyte there are mitochondria. So in pathophysiology, it's the chondrocyte which controls everything. When their level is low, synthesis is low, there is a osteoarthritis. But if you want to treat, you have to stimulate the metabolism of chondrocytes. This is interesting. 2004, somebody caught from a company that there is a type 2 collagen. Type 2 collagen can cause osteoarthritis, but if you derivatize the molecule, so it's a glycosylated, undenatured type 2 collagen, 90% pain can be reduced. So for dogs, the dose is 10 milligram per day. For horses, 120 to 160 milligram per day. We continued our clinical trial for 150 days. And I'll show you some data. UC2 functions through oral tolerization. That there are pairs of patches in small intestine where the food is being absorbed. UC2 is also absorbed at the same place. It prevents the immune system from attacking and damaging its own immune system. It reduces inflammation and safe and well tolerated. But it has to be undenatured because it's a protein, it's a peptide. If it gets denaturated, it's all useless. It's a long, complicated mechanism of action, but in single sentence I can say UC2 basically deactivates killer T cells. So basically it stops the immune damaging system. You can see the overall pain, 80-90% is reduced. You can see the pain upon limb manipulation, 90% of the pain is reduced. You can see the pain after physical exertion. There is a UC2 alone is effective. This is a disappointment. The expectation was that UC2 nobody knows. We can combine with the glucosamine and chondroitin, and this will be combination will provide better effects. But no, only UC2 alone provides better results than combined with glucosamine and chondroitin. UC2 alone provides better results than glucosamine and chondroitin. Now this is the results of the ground force plate that you saw the dog walking with the sensors. So only UC2 has provided significant effect compared to other groups. Same thing with the impulse area. In the entire leg, only UC2 has provided significant effect. So type 2 collagen alone or in combination, we have published many papers and they are available freely. If you need any publication, I'll be more than happy to provide you. Another clinical trial we did with the T. chabula extract. As you can see, overall pain and pain upon limb manipulation, there is a marked decrease in the pain. And there is a marker of inflammation, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, significant reduction in the pain and biomarker in T. chabula extract receiving dogs. You see the radiographic evidence, there is a significant increase in bone formation in placebo group. But in the treated group, it has slowed down. So T. chabula extract work by antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-arthritic, and you can see the significant effect in 90 days, maximum effect in 150 days. Paper is published and freely available. We did another trial with the Chrominex from Natrion company. It has three components: chromium, Phyllanthus amblica amla extract, and purified shilajit. And you can see significant decrease in the pain. So Chrominex again, it works as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-arthritic. But here is the very interesting. In dogs, it takes 90 days before you see significant effect. In the horses, 30 days. Both papers are published. They are all my graduate students, and they did a wonderful job. The another clinical trial is with shilajit. You go 10,000 feet high in mountains, whether it's Everest or Fuji or Russia, wherever you go, once you get to the 10,000 feet high, you can see herbo-mineral exudate in summer. That exudate has many compounds, primarily dibenzo-alpha-pyrans and fulvic acids. Gram a day is sufficient for a dog, 2 divided doses, and you can see significant decrease in overall pain and pain upon limb manipulation. So purified Shilajit has many health effects, not only in osteoarthritis. It can be used in cardioprotective, adaptogenic, antibacterial, and many other conditions. Just a month ago, we finished another clinical trial with Flex Choice. This Flex Choice is a product of the Vets Plus in Wisconsin. It has krill oil from fish, hyaluronic acid, astaxanthin, which is antioxidant, ITPGS. This is an interesting molecule, iron transport tocopherol polyethylene glycol succinate. It's a bioenhancer that it can cause eubiosis in GI tract and dysbiosis, that bad bacteria can be killed and good bacteria growth can be proliferated, so it can improve the health of the GI tract, but it can be bioenhancer for other nutraceuticals as well. It provided very good effects. You can see overall pain, significant reduction, but you cannot compare with the UC2. Now, there is a literature about other compounds, but they are not that effective. You can use hyaluronic acid, but it's injectable. If you give orally, it's not that effective. But the latest news is it's anti-cancer. That's a very, very good news, because each cell in the body has hyaluronic acid. First time Germans isolated from bovine eye, and now hyaluronic acid is used in ointments, dermal conditions, many conditions. Hyaluronic acid is effective. Omega-3 fatty acids. So I will not read all the slides, but these provide good effects, but effects are not remarkable. MSM, commonly used especially in horses. Boswellia serrata, it's an Indian frankincense, but there are 6 boswellic acids. If you are using Milksure, it's a acetyl keto beta boswellic acid. Other 5 boswellic acids, they are not effective. Lord knows how somebody can get there to collect the sample. And there are some products are available. Curcumin, I take personally, a lot of people are taking around the world. Curcumin is very effective for so many diseases. It can be used in osteoarthritis as well. But the effects are not as remarkable as UC2 or Chrominex. New Zealand, green-lipped mussel. Yes, they are effective, but not significant. Avocado soybean, unsaponifiers. Lots of research has been done. Effects are there, but not remarkable. I would suggest until more research is done, more clinical trials are done, enjoy as guacamole or whatever as a food. Some effects are there. There are many other nutraceuticals are there, resveratrol, axial membrane, bovine lactoferrin, botulinum toxin, sochinon, but they are effective but not significantly. So here are my conclusions. The nutraceutical future is bright. More new nutraceuticals will come. There will be new uses of old nutraceuticals. So where the emphasis, more mechanistic work that we can offer you, how do they work? Sensitive, validated biomarkers are needed. So early diagnosis, in case of especially osteoarthritis, it takes years to develop osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis does not occur overnight. It can take years. Early diagnosis is the key thing. Long-term clinical trials. So we can convince the veterinarians the clinical trials have been done, these are the products, and they can be used safely. There are 2 books, Nutraceuticals for Humans nutraceuticals in veterinary medicine. So there are 2 books. Now we are working at the 2nd edition. Veterinary nutraceutical book came out just a few months ago. All kinds of nutraceuticals, singly, combination, side effects, safety, toxicity, all kinds of work is available. Here is the veterinary toxicology. We finished 3rd edition. 2 years we will be working 4th edition. So from differential diagnosis point of view, because if somebody started nutraceutical, they can like to sue the company that there are side effects. So for differential diagnosis, veterinary toxicology book can help you. These many books are edited. And in every book, Professor Anadon, Professor Laranaga, and many hundreds of these scientists around the world, they have made contribution to these books. If I live long enough, there may be 10 more books I'll edit. But I take no credit for any book. I'm an editor. These books are contributed by contributors from around the world. There are so many countries, hundreds of these scientists are working very hard, but in every book, gentlemen and lady, they have made contributions. So without their contributions, I do not go anywhere. ¿Alguna pregunta? Muchas gracias.
Please, you should take a note now.
Now I can take oath.
A note.
Yo, Ramesh C. Gupta, Doctor NCS, Veterinarius por la Universidad G.V. Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, College of Veterinary Medicine, Pantnagar, Nainital, India. Prometo acatar los estatutos vigentes de la Real Academia de Ciencias Veterinarias de España en virtud de mi nombramiento como académico correspondiente extranjero, dando testimonio de ella mediante la firma rubricada que estampo junto a la del señor presidente y la del señor secretario general en este documento de toma de posesión. Madrid, y 30 de septiembre de 2019. El académico correspondiente extranjero. ¿Sí?
Be here. No, be here. In front of on behalf of His Majesty of the King of Spain, I impose the medal that corresponds to you, and at your choice will be incorporated into the second section of the Animal Medicine on Health of this Royal National Academy of Veterinary Sciences. I am not an expert on that. And also you will receive the accreditative diploma of this distinction. Congratulations. Muchas gracias. Se levanta el acto y gracias por su asistencia.